All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if this is actually working properly. Yep, everything seems like it's good to go. All right, so we definitely have a few weather events to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So I actually got off of work early tonight, so I wanted to come on here and give you guys an update. So I definitely appreciate all of you guys' support. We have 2,115 subscribers on the channel now, which is absolutely fantastic. We're definitely continuing to grow. So definitely, if you like the content, we definitely. Sorry, I got distracted by something. I was looking at some of this data on the screen, not showing on live here, but actually on my other screen here. And it definitely looks like we're going to have some crazy weather events. But yeah, guys, if you definitely like the content, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button and share this information out there to those that need it the most. Hitting that like button as well. And leaving a comment down below helps us get into the YouTube's algorithm to spread this message far and wide. That's exactly what we plan on doing here at World Weather Authority. We definitely appreciate you guys joining us. But let's actually take a look at this, some of this data. So actually we have some severe weather coming in. Let me take a look at some of this here. Let me just move this out of my way real quick. Yeah, take a look on screen here, folks. We definitely have some interesting weather coming in here. So this is actually late Friday night into late Thursday night into Friday. We definitely have two areas of interest here. So let's take a look at the first one up here in northeastern Nebraska down through southeastern Kansas. Southeastern South Dakota here. Let me get that right. We definitely have some interesting weather situations here. So let's take a look at some of the towns that are actually going to be affected by this particular severe weather event. This is going to happen down through Brewster, Taylor, Burwell, Atkinson, Bassett, O'Neill, Plainview, Butte, Wagner, Springfield, Yankton, Vermilion. This is all the way up through Sioux Falls as well. So we're definitely going to expect some elevated thunderstorms developing ahead of the approaching low pressure system. So it's definitely going to be a very, very interesting event for sure. Although it is just a marginal risk at this point, there could be possibly upgraded to a slight risk here, but I think it is going to stay a marginal risk just due to the cold boundary layer temperatures beneath the elevated mix layer. That's going to actually prevent surface-based instability, so we're going to have some elevated convection here. However, steep mid-level lapse rates will allow for 500 to about 1,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE, so definitely a pretty buoyant atmosphere here. That's definitely going to allow storms to develop and sort of carry the characteristics with isolated large hail and stronger wind events here, especially with some of the bigger storms that develop here. So it's going to be between, so if we go up through Sioux Falls here, all the way down, it looks like we're going down into Brewster here. So this would be down into central Nebraska here that we're going to have to watch this very, very carefully, this event. So we also have this event down to the south, but I definitely want to pull up some data here first before we actually move forward here into the event. The first event up to the north here in Nebraska, South Dakota as well. Let's actually take a look at this. Let me pull this up rather quickly here. That way we can get going on this. So let's take a look at some of these dew points as well. So some of these dew points here through late Thursday night into Friday morning, we're going to have dew points in the 50s here. So that's pretty good. That's basically having like a springtime dew point of about 65 to about 70 degrees here. So it's definitely very interesting. So let's take a look at some of this. If we actually go to, let's go to composite reflectivity here so that way we can get sort of a handle on the situation here. We take a look at this sort of little blips here that started to develop. This is at 1 a.m. on Friday. If we actually take a look at some of the sounding data from this, we can actually see, let me see if I can move this over just a little bit. That way, move this out of the way. Let me see here. I want to make sure that we actually get the full spectrum here. So let me sort of rearrange this on the fly. That way we can see what's going on. Alright, there we go. Now let me put this on the screen to show you guys. Let's see here. Let's actually go to hour 51. So it's definitely pretty interesting. This is actually going to be sort of a colder core setup here into northeastern Nebraska, down into southeastern South Dakota here. The temperature is only about in the 50s, the lower 50s here, but we do have that marginal severe. Take a look at the hodograph here. It's definitely a little bit of a curvature, especially from 0 to 1 kilometer. So we can definitely see those turning of the winds in the atmosphere here. So it's definitely be very interesting. We do have that stout elevated mix layer as well. We're also looking at about 52 meters squared per second squared for the SRH, or the storm relative helicity there. So it's kind of low, but I do expect that to sort of increase as we actually go through the time frame here. So this is about 51 hours out. So this is about, let me go actually here. So we're looking at about 4 a.m. Just to the southwest of Sioux City. But we can definitely take a look at that. The Cape values are actually going to go up to between 406 and 1386 joules per kilogram. So it's definitely pretty good in terms of the actual Cape. So that Cape's definitely going to aid in the development of some stronger storms here. They could become weak supercells. However, it's probably most likely going to be some stronger storms. I'm not sure if they're actually going to reach supercellular limits or not. But yeah, take a look at the possible hazard here is marginal severe. So we do have that chance for some severe storms to develop. In the storm slinky here, we can sort of see. So this basically looks down. It's an interesting factor here. So basically, it's a 2D visualization of the 3D trajectory of parcels in an updraft, or the air flowing through the updraft there, viewed from above the updraft tower. So it definitely provides insight into the type of storm the environment may produce here. So you can definitely see this is going to be more of a linear structure of cells that develop. So it's not really going to be discrete supercells. I definitely believe it's going to be more of a linear structure here. There could be some bowing segments as well, which can produce some damaging winds. We're also going to have that potential for some large hail as well, especially giving some of these profiles here. And take a look at the D-Cape at 688. So definitely we're going to have that chance for downbursts here. So it's definitely going to be very interesting as we go forward. Let's actually step this forward just a little bit to hour 54. Let's go to the same area. You can see basically it's a very, very short-lived event actually. So it's only within about 3-hour time frame that we're going to be dealing with some of these storms here, especially into northeastern Nebraska. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye out on this. Let's actually switch back to Radar Omega to give you guys a little bit of insight what's going on down further to the south on the same day as well. So let's pull this up quickly here. So if we zoom out, look at the bigger picture here, we can actually see there's a little bit of a marginal risk down to the south as well. This stretches from Kansas City, Topeka, Emporia, Wichita. It includes the Tulsa, Oklahoma City area as well, and down through Wichita Falls. So it's more of a broader risk. Definitely covers a lot more area. This includes Norman, Shawnee, Clinton, Elk City, all the way through Stillwater, Ponca City here, Enid, up through Claremore as well, and Muskogee. But in this setup, we could definitely see some QLCS and discrete supercells possible along the dry line. We're going to have strong low-level warm air advection. It's definitely going to be able to overcome the elevated mix layer between 850 and 700 millibars. We can definitely see tornadoes, hail, and definitely some damaging winds as well. This is definitely going to take place right down here to the south. I believe there's going to be the corridor of the strongest storms. So right in the corridor of Highway 44 and I-35 here down to the south of Norman. It's going to be between Ada, Lawton, and Ardmore here, even up through McAllister. So we're going to have to watch that very, very closely. Let's actually take a look at some of this data as well. This is going to be between 7 a.m. Friday and 1 p.m. Friday that we're going to see some of this activity coming through. So let's actually take a look at some of that data rather quickly here. Let's pull that up. Let me switch this out of screen here so that way we can actually get the proper data. But I definitely do believe it's going to be right along the Red River as well, even down to the south a little bit further here. Let's actually take a look at some of this here. You can definitely see that possible hazard type is tornadoes. Unfortunately, that photograph definitely looks very strong. Definitely have a lot of curvature from 0 to 1 kilometer here. You can also see the SRH values of 392 meter squared per second squared, so that's definitely very high. We also have the possibility for some weak supercells to even some moderate supercells definitely developing here. We do have a little bit of decay, 275, so not as high as to the north. So definitely damaging winds are still going to be prominent. However, I do believe that tornadoes will be a little bit more prominent down to the south here. You can see we're at 66 degrees for the surface temperature and on top of a 64-degree dew point. So that's definitely very, very moist for this area. And we're looking at surface cape just almost 800 joules per kilogram. Do have a small capping inversion in place, but I do believe that these air parcels are definitely going to be able to punch through that cap, especially with the convective inhibition values of only 37 joules per kilogram. So you definitely see that's definitely going to overcome that area. But SRH values of 392 is definitely very strong. We definitely have some interesting omega values coming in here as well. So right in the mid levels here, mid to upper levels from 500 millibars up to 300 millibars. So definitely we're going to have the potential for damaging winds at that point. With these omega values, we definitely have a lot of precipitation here as well. So flash flooding can definitely become a concern. So this is right along the Red River between Sherman and Paris here. So we're going to have to watch this very carefully as we go forward. Let me switch back to radar omega so that way we can get a little bit more insight on what's going to go on. So let's take a look at the model data on radar omega, which is definitely interesting. I definitely like taking a look at this. Radar Omega is a very fantastic app, guys. If you definitely have the opportunity to download it, it's definitely a very crucial app to have for sure. So let's take a look at this. Definitely want to go into, let's see here. Definitely want to get the supercell composite here, so let's take a look at that. So you can definitely see where some of this activity is definitely going to come in. This is at 2 a.m. on Friday. Especially up here between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. We could definitely have that possibility for some severe thunderstorms to develop here. Especially given this sort of nose of supercell composite values actually stretching up to the north a little bit here. But down here to the south, take a look at this down here near Oklahoma City. We're definitely going to have that potential for severe weather to develop. So we're looking at supercell composite values of 11 here. Let's actually take a look at the significant tornado parameter here, just to show you guys. So yeah, it's a little bit elevated here. We do have 1.3, so it's not very, very strong. But it's definitely there, so we could definitely have the potential for tornadoes, even all the way up through Lincoln, Grand Island as well, stretching across the I-70 corridor, all the way down to the I-40 corridor, as well as I-40 and I-35 coming into Oklahoma City and Norman. This is around 5 a.m. on Friday, so we definitely have that potential there. And even through 8 a.m. as well, we still have that elevated potential to the east of Norman and Oklahoma City, down through the Tulsa area. This eventually propagates upward to the northeast. It ejects off to the northeast up near Tulsa, Bartlesville, up near Joplin as well, heading into the Rogers area. And then eventually you can definitely see around 2 p.m., which we're going to get into, we have those major, sort of amazing supercell composite values, those major values coming in over 4 here. So we definitely have to watch this very carefully. So let's actually take a look at the severe weather indices coming in for day 3 as well. Let's see here. Let's get this to actually load properly here. Let's see here. You see if I can shut that off and turn it back on once this actually cooperates. So let's actually try to get this to cooperate a little bit. There we go. Put this back on screen for you guys here. And let's turn the actual model data off for a second here, so that way we can actually get a handle on this. But take a look at this, guys. This is definitely a major severe weather outbreak coming in. Unfortunately, this is actually going to be Friday into Saturday. You can definitely see how broad this area is. There's going to be a lot of places, unfortunately, under the gun for severe weather. We're talking about places Iowa all the way down through Illinois, Missouri as well, even into sort of southwestern Illinois, down through western Kentucky, down through western Tennessee, and even into northern Mississippi. Almost all of Arkansas is definitely going to be under the gun for severe weather, and even up into northwestern Alabama here. So we definitely have that potential for severe weather, especially going into Friday into Saturday. Is definitely one of the major event that's actually going to happen here. Let's see if we can pull up some of the actual SPC data here. So we're looking at potentially intense and widespread severe thunderstorms are expected Friday afternoon into the overnight hours across portions of the middle Mississippi Valley and mid-south vicinity eastward to the lower Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Damaging gusts and tornadoes will be the main hazards with this activity. So this is taking a look at the Arklatex through the mid-Mississippi Valley and eastward to the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Widespread regional episode of severe thunderstorms possible on Friday. An intense mid to upper trough or low pressure system is forecast to eject eastward across the plains to the central United States on Friday. Intense deep layer southwesterly flow will accompany this system with over 100 knots at the 500 millibars. So definitely very strong mid-level jet for sure, expanding over much of the Midwest. So we're talking about 115 plus mile per hour winds in the mid-levels. As the upper trough deepens during the afternoon and evening, a 60 to 70 knot southwesterly low-level jet will overspread much of the risk area. So that's definitely very intense for low-level jet. We're definitely going to see a lot of Boeing segments with that. We're definitely going to see very damaging winds with that as well. These flow fields will favor a fast-moving squall line shifting across the mid-Mississippi Valley through the mid-south toward the lower Ohio Valley and Tennessee valleys. So we're looking at the surface here, strong southwesterly low-level flow will transport 60-degree dew points northward. Near 60-degree dew points are expected as far north as eastern Iowa towards northern Illinois and then central Indiana as the surface low tracks east and northeastward from Iowa earlier in the day. So that's definitely very intense. 60-degree dew points that far north is definitely going to create the conditions perfect for severe weather. Unfortunately, it's definitely going to create some very dangerous situations in terms of long track tornadoes, definitely some damaging winds, and possibly some large hail as well. So we're definitely looking at some questions still remain. I did look at some of the data earlier. The two sort of bigger models are definitely sort of disagreeing with the timing of this, but it definitely looks like it's definitely going to occur. At least with the regional models here, like the North American model, the RAP model as well, definitely starting to come into more of an agreement. It looks like the GFS and the European model are a little bit out of agreement. However, the sort of lower scale models are definitely coming into agreement, which is very good. It's definitely not good for those that are in the path of this system. And unfortunately, guys, it is springtime, so it definitely looks like, unfortunately, a major severe weather outbreak is definitely taking shape here. So I definitely want to take a look at some of the data here. Let me pull this up. Actually, you know what? Let me take this off screen here, and then we will actually look at some of the data on Radar Mega itself, just to give you guys some insight of what's going to happen here. Yeah, as we talked about before, we can definitely see that significant tornado parameter sort of ramping up in two different areas. This is around 2 p.m. So we definitely have one up to the north of the I-44 corridor, to the north of Springfield, up towards Lebanon, St. Robert, and Jefferson City here. So we definitely have to be on the lookout for this. This is down to the south and southeast of Lurie. So this is actually within central Missouri here. We also have the sort of main event down to the south as well. This is going to be near to the east of Sulphur Springs, right around the Mount Pleasant area through New Boston and Texarkana. This is around 2 p.m. Right along I-30. I would definitely, if I was a storm chaser, I would definitely be out here, especially down to the south, definitely chasing some of these storms because they can definitely get very intense. Unfortunately, as we step forward in time as well, we sort of get this expansion in the supercell parameter here and the significant tornado parameter as well. But it's definitely not a good situation. You can definitely see to the north of Shreveport all the way through El Dorado. Then we have these two areas, sort of bullseyes. We have one coming in near Little Rock and one to the south of Pine Bluff as well, near Monticello. So definitely not going to be a good situation. This is actually through the I-30 corridor, definitely coming up through Little Rock, as well as the I-40 corridor. And this actually stretches along 165 here up to the north and 530 through Pine Bluff. But you can definitely see this stretches all the way to the north. This even goes into Quincy and all the way up through Macomb here. This is into Illinois and even southeastern Iowa here and into northeastern Missouri as well. But it's definitely going to be a very interesting event. Even as we stretch this forward, unfortunately, some of these storms are going to get even stronger down to the south near Fredericktown, down through Jackson and Poplar Bluff as well, right along 67 through Piedmont, eventually into the Jackson area. So we're taking a look at southeastern Missouri here. And as these storm systems and as the storm system comes across down through Memphis as well, down through Greenville, definitely going to be some strong and intense storms here. It's definitely going to be more of a linear structure. So we're going to see more of those bow echoes showing up on radar as the low-level jet comes out behind them, sort of bowing out those segments. We're going to get like kidney bean-shaped thunderstorms as well. So it's definitely not going to be a good situation. High-profile vehicles are definitely going to be susceptible to damaging winds. We're also going to have some power outages as well, definitely with some of the trees coming down. Straight line winds are going to be a very, very big issue. Tornadoes as well. And unfortunately, these are going to be QLCS tornadoes, which are going to be very, very hard to see and very, very hard to chase, unfortunately. They can easily be wrapped in rain and be obscured from view. So those are definitely the most dangerous tornadoes to chase. And as we go into the overnight hours here, this will be on Friday into Saturday. It looks like that event is actually starting to wane down a little bit. And eventually there's going to be somewhat of an uptick in activity here in central Tennessee, down through Alabama and Mississippi as well, down to the Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, even through the Nashville and Murfreesboro area as well, into Tennessee, and even into Monticello, into south central Kentucky here. It's definitely going to get hit. And unfortunately, it's not over from there, folks. We definitely have another risk as well. I'll definitely have to show you guys that. But I definitely want to take a look at the actual composite reflectivity here for you, just to show you guys that sort of linear structure that we're going to have here. So we're going to have some of these prefrontal confluence bands actually developing out ahead of this. This is 2 p.m. So this is going to be on Friday. So actually down to the Shreveport, Monroe area, Greenville, and we're going to have that rain shield up near Memphis as well. The main event is actually going to be back here, right along the dry line, and around, right along that cold front as well. Just east of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And as we step this forward, you can definitely see this linear structure take shape and propagate across the country there. So it's definitely going to be pretty strong. It's very hard to tell sort of the more high-resolution data here, since this is a lower resolution model. Unfortunately, the HRRR model doesn't go out this far, but whenever it does, we're definitely going to take a look at that, just to give you guys sort of more honing in of the areas you're going to get hit the most. Definitely a lot of rain here through the Paris, Tennessee, McKenzie, through the I-40 corridor to the north of Lexington here. Definitely going to get hit, and this is eventually going to come through the Nashville area as well. That could definitely reduce visibilities for sure. Definitely want to tap into some of the live cams as well, just to show you guys some of that data. And we also have that squall line here. This is around 8 p.m. on Friday. This is through Davenport, Springfield, St. Louis as well. Definitely getting on the action, especially up through here towards northwestern Illinois and even central Illinois, getting in on the action, and down here into eastern and southeastern Missouri. Could definitely get rocked by some of these winds. Some of these winds can be in excess of 70 miles per hour. So it's definitely nothing to play with, folks. Let's see here. Let me take this data off real quick. I definitely want to show you guys. I believe it's day 7. Let me see if I can pull that up here. See if we can get this to load properly. Hopefully it does. Definitely appreciate you guys bearing with me. Definitely been a long night at work for sure. Let's see if I can't get it to pull up on Radar Mega. We could definitely pull it up on Pivotal Weather. So let's see what happens here. Looks like I might have to pull it up on Pivotal. That's no problem. We'll definitely pull that up there. There we go. Now we got it. Alright, so take a look at this broad area as well. This is actually a slight risk. This is for day 7, so this is pretty far out. This is actually for next Tuesday and Wednesday. This is April 4th and April 5th, so you can definitely see that's pretty far out. But it looks like a very, very broad risk definitely developing here. This is a slight risk, and it's often rare that the SPC actually puts these risks out this far, this actually far out. This does include northern Louisiana through Shreveport, Monroe, Ruston as well. This actually includes much of the top half of Mississippi, just to the north of the Jackson area, the Philadelphia area definitely getting hit, Greenwood, Starkville, Columbus, Tupelo. This does include Memphis, Tennessee again, even up through Little Rock as well. So much of the same areas that were hit many times before by severe weather. This actually goes up through Fort Smith, Jonesboro, all the way into Kentucky, and even into possibly into the Cincinnati area. So we're going to have to watch the expansion of this and see how this actually should take shape. This is all the way through Tuesday and Wednesday next week. So we're definitely looking at about a week out for this. This does include the St. Louis, Springfield, Urbana area, Quincy as well. So definitely take this with a grain of salt, this data, as this is about a week out. But like I said, it's very rare that the SPC actually issues a slight risk this far out. It's happened before. We've seen it here on the live streams here before that this actually happens. And yeah, guys, it's definitely going to be an intense situation over the next week. We definitely have 2 severe weather events this week coming in. So we have one coming in tomorrow. This is going to be into northern and northeastern Nebraska down through southeastern South Dakota. We also have eastern Kansas all the way down through central Oklahoma and including into the sort of north central Texas area as well. Unfortunately, some of these areas may see some tornadoes, especially down to the south. That cold core setup up to the north in Nebraska could possibly produce some tornadoes as well. Probably some land spouts, most likely. And then the big event is actually going to be coming in definitely Friday into Saturday is when the big event's going to come in. That's going to include Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, all the way over through Ohio as well, definitely getting on the action, even down into possibly down to the Baton Rouge area. So from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, all the way up into Ohio, we could definitely expect some severe weather. So it's definitely going to be very intense. But all right, guys, I'm going to jump off of here, probably get some sleep. Like I said, it was a pretty long night at work. Definitely have another long one coming in. About 1,600 cases for the truck tonight, so it's definitely going to be pretty crazy. But yeah, definitely be on the lookout for our new mythology podcast that's coming up. Keith and I are going to get that started soon. I definitely hope to join Justin again on the live streams here at World Weather Authority. Definitely love seeing you guys. Definitely, if you enjoy our content, definitely consider hitting that like button and the subscribe button as well. Definitely share this information out there to those that need it the most. Like I said, I definitely want to try to start doing these videos more often after work. It's not too bad. It's a little tiring, but I love the weather, so I definitely want to make sure that this information gets out there. But I definitely appreciate you guys joining me, and always remember, never stop chasing.